Hi, and thank you for watching TargetedWest.com, the TI Book Club, the group that gets together for the Fourth Industrial Revolution type technologies, including synthetic telepathy, brain mapping, um, interfered with dreams, and such. The opinions of the callers and the guests here are that of their own and not that of Targeted West or DJ Chris. Tonight we have a special guest. Today is show number 187, and it's the 11th month of 16th day of 2025. It is now 57 degrees here in Lodi, and I have the heater on, if that's what you're wondering, what's spinning in the background. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest. It's Midge Mathis. How are you?
Chris, I'm doing good. And I'll just tell everybody just very quickly, please have some grace tonight for me because it's been a couple of stressful days. My brother had a heart attack and had to have heart surgery. So I've been a little emotional, so just bear with me, you guys. And you know how these things go. So I just appreciate you, Chris, so much, and Tranquility. And thank you for inviting me to be on your show.
Yeah, you're welcome. So tell us a little bit about what you have found that works for you with targeting and what solutions you have that seem to help.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm just going to give a little bit of background for myself, and
a bio would be great.
Yeah, so I've been a TI for quite a while. I was married to somebody in the deep state, so I call myself deep state ex-wife. My ex-husband is a business partner, Bill Gates. He's part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Has communication contracts to do the smart cities, the 15-minute cities. That is a fact. That's what they, want to implement. So I went through a divorce, and after I got divorced, then my targeting started. Because of who I was married to, I know certain things. The business partners would come over and have business meetings at my home. I would hear them discuss different things. So I have a little bit more insightfulness than a lot of people, only because I lived it. I didn't even know about targeting while I was married, but I sensed that there was something going on. We were approached one day. We had garbage companies. That's how we made a lot of our money. One day we were approached by the FBI, and they wanted to know if they could use our garbage company to do surveillance on people. Well, in my mind, I thought it was like a movie, that they had somebody they were watching, a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. But, this all happened after 9/11. So 9/11 was a springboard to a lot of what we see now in the targeting world, what we see now, what is going on. So, I like to always kind of give a history of what has happened, how did we get here. I like to tell people how to get to the other side, because you can have a life despite the targeting. I know it's not easy, but you can, and I'm kind of proof of that. So I'll get to that in just a little bit. But I also like to talk about, we are the model that was used for COVID. We are used as for the transhumanism movement. That's true. And so, the best we can do is we can keep ourselves mentally healthy as best as possible. I always stress to people, if you can keep your sense of humor, you got it beat. Not every day is easy. I know that. There was a time when, and I know we've all been through horrible times, there was a time I just didn't think I was going to make it. So I am one of the original founders of Targeted Justice, which was started in 2017. I'm no longer with Targeted Justice because I've gone on to other things. But I still support their work. I support anybody and everybody who is out there doing something, because it's not easy. And if you have the mindset and you have the energy despite your targeting, God bless you. I've been to D.C. 3 times. I've spoken to over 300 legislators about targeting, and I want you all to understand this. And for some new TIs, I know it's hard to understand this concept, but it's not a secret. This targeting program has been going on for a very long time. They want to impose a prison planet. This is a game of the elitist. This is a program that was put into place by the military-industrial complex. The person who is behind the transhumanism movement is Bill Gates. So I'd like to impart upon people to think bigger. Think, who's running this program? Bill Gates, my ex, and all that is they're part of the deep state. He works with the DOD. It is the DOD contractors that do all the experimenting. I know that for a fact because my ex-husband is a DOD contractor. They're making millions and millions of dollars every week on this program. Mm-hmm. So if I can impart anything at all, the best way to combat this, and I am a big follower of Kathy O'Brien because she has healed herself. She talks about it. She was put into the MK Ultra program by her father. And so she talks about how she has healed herself. Her books are amazing. And she always stresses that there's 2 things you can do to help yourself, and I do this on a regular basis. You journal because you write in cursive. That opens up the neural pathways and allows healing. And it also allows your brain to open neural pathways. So, and she also says be mindful of your time because too many, in the beginning, and I can talk from experience, you guys. In the beginning, oh my God, just like everybody, you're trying to figure out what's going on. You think you're the only person. You think everybody in the world hates you. I've been down every single road that you can imagine. Until one day, I just decided that I wasn't going to play the game anymore. Because once you stop playing the game and you stop being afraid, then you win. Many years ago, I started doing a buddy system, and I encourage you all to do that. This is how you're going to get through this. You find a good friend in the community, or 2, or 3, someone that, and if you're going to be with me, you pick up the phone and you call them and say, can I talk to you for a while? I used to do that with Ella, and we would stay on the phone till both of us were laughing. And that's how you can fight some of this. And I know that every day is not easy, but you have the means within yourself to heal yourself. And like I said, I know it's not easy, but you are stronger than this program. This program was created by mortal men. And I'll tell you what, this community is some of the strongest people I have ever met in my life. I want you all to remember who you were before you got targeted, because you are still that person, and no one deserves this. This is absolutely evil and insane. But if you can remember and keep your self-worth, then that's another way to beat the system. When you can love others, see, I love people. I can't help it. And I think that God instilled in me a long time ago a love for life and joy. No one can take away my joy. That's another thing that because there was a time where I wasn't happy at all. I was just miserable, and I just thought, gosh, this is it. And, some of you know my story about, you've seen my pictures where, I've been majorly burned more than 25 times. I've been in the hospital more times than what I care to remember. I was burned horrifically. And the pictures that you've seen is just a small fraction of what has happened to me. So there was a time when most of my circulation was, shut down because of the burn, and my fingers were turning black in between my fingers. I've had wonderful people who have helped me, wonderful people. I have had angels in this community that helped me to get through those really bad times. And I will never be able to thank them enough, because I've had TIs who have stuck their neck out for me, and I am forever grateful. There is one TI that is no longer in the community. Her name is Kate Ryan. She lives in Massachusetts. If it wasn't for Kate, I probably wouldn't be here. There was a time where her father used to live like 12 minutes from me in Phoenix. And she has gone to the emergency room with me. She's gone to urgent care. She helped me file a police report. And there was one time when I was just being burned continuously every other week from October to the end of February. And I was not going to survive. I knew that. So she took me home to Massachusetts. She put me on a plane. And it was difficult because, I'm on a plane and I'm, burned from head to toe. And there's a little kid that turns around. I had a hoodie on. And there's a little kid on the plane that turns around and points at me and says, "Oh, look at that lady. She's all burned," So those days are over. Okay, I don't get burned anymore like I used to, thank goodness. But I had to work really, really, really hard at it. And what you have to do is if you have proof, you do file police reports. What I'm going to tell you, though, is don't ever go by yourself. You take someone with you. If you've got proof of your injuries, you go to a doctor, but you do not tell the doctor what has happened to you. You let him tell you what's happening. These are microwave burns. They burn from the inside out, just like a microwave. They can turn them up. They can turn them down. So I saw a lady on X the other day. I saw her pictures. I won't say her name. I felt so sorry for her, and I have tried to help her and give her some advice what you can do. Everybody's targeting is the same but different. Some get more of one thing than the other, but basically we are experiencing pretty much the same stuff. I have had wonderful doctors. I've just been really blessed. I've had great doctors who have supported me. I do have a diagnosis, several diagnoses of non-ionizing radiation or just, radiation burns. What determines if it's non-ionizing or just regular ionizing is the wavelength. So I have just, gone the gambit like a lot of you. But what I stress is that if you can somehow regain some of your life, then you've got this program beat. Not every day is easy to stay positive, but I find something. Music is medicine. So I listen to a lot of music. I dance around. I get on the phone with Chris or Tranquility and I laugh, but I also have a lot of friends who are not TIs. I don't go around talking about this all the time because nobody wants to hear it. It scares them. They don't know what to do. Neither does your family. I love my family. There's a couple of family members that I've had to let go, probably like a lot of you, because, they went to the dark side. People are paid off. They're threatened. They're made promises, and trust me, none of those promises are ever kept. But they promise. Because I know how this works. I have been a party to being so close to the folks who are running this program. So when I say think bigger, it's the deep state. It's not your neighbor. Your neighbor is not running this program. The stalkers are not running this program. Stalkers are just low men on the totem pole. They do as they are told. They do not have these weapons. Now, they might have a laser, like a laser beam, because, that's happened to me. You're driving down the road and they, bring out a laser and they hit the side mirror so it bounces into your eyes. Keep a mirror, a hand mirror in your car, and guess what? Bounce it back. And they don't like that, and they'll quit. I used to keep CDs in my car, and I would just hold up the CD. So there's different things you can do, to help protect yourself. But today I would just like to impart that if you can stay as positive as possible, everybody, I look at it like this, guys. Everybody's being targeted, truly. You got the chemtrails. You got COVID, the COVID shots. You've got the satellites that are hitting people. I mean, there's just so much that is going on. So I just look at it like, everybody's targeted. Everyone's targeted in a different way. And more and more people are waking up to the fact that something is really, really wrong. I am so proud of this community for moving forward. I am so proud of everyone. I'm not kidding you. The momentum is incredible. I'm so proud of what Jesse Beltran is doing and his crew. That takes a lot of guts and a lot of energy because they're targeted too. I'm proud of what Targeted Justice is doing. Don't forget, these folks are targeted. What Chris and Tranquility, all of you. I just see a lot of momentum, and golly, we just, we've had momentum before. We've had a lot of programs. Ella did the billboards, and that was amazing. But I have never seen so much energy going in the right direction to expose this program. What's happening now, and we should be very excited about this, is that there are celebrities who are now coming forward and admitting that they are being targeted. So you got Van Morrison, the singer. He's got a song out called I Am a Targeted Individual, and he is targeted. You've got Randy Quaid, who has been on different news shows talking about his targeted. He doesn't talk about it as much anymore, but he's targeted like us. You got Liz Cronkin, who is a journalist, used to be a newscaster. She's the one who outed Pizzagate, and she has recently come out on X and talked about that she gets the electronics, she gets the stalking, she gets it all, she said. And, she talked about them poisoning her dog. She talked about how they put her in the hospital. And there's a couple of pictures that she has shared on X. And she is very brave. A lot of people, a lot of celebrities don't talk about it in detail because, that kind of stunts, what they're trying to do. And they all have an agenda as far as what they are doing. So recently I met with Laura Logan. She was the reporter for 60 Minutes, and she knows about targeting. She has met with Bill Binney and Catherine Horton a few years ago. And so I met with her, and she's a lovely lady. She's gone through her own hell, absolute hell, when she was a reporter in Afghanistan. I'm sure I won't go into detail what happened to her, but it's very horrific. And so I was just really blessed to meet her. So there's also Roseanne Barr. At one point she was heavily targeted, and she is best friends with Kathy O'Brien. They've been best friends forever, and they have gone to Mar-a-Lago together. So has Liz Cronkin. So I want you guys to rest assured that, this program isn't a secret. There are, they know what's going on. It's just so massive. The deep state is powerful, extremely powerful, and that is who is running this program. I think that it is going to get better. I don't know if it will ever end, if I'm going to be honest with you, but I do think that it is going to get better, and I think it already has in a way. So I just want you all just to, stay close to each other. I met a guy yesterday. I try to help people. I'm not in the community much because I'm doing other things, but I still try to help people behind the scenes. And I met a gentleman from the UK, and he had never talked with another TI, trying to impart some information. And if I were to see anything going forward, I would like to see this community start helping each other. There are a lot of new TIs, and they need help. They need some of the senior TIs to reach out to them and to, give them words of encouragement. That is our job. When I was in Phoenix, I'm no longer in Phoenix because Phoenix is horrible. I now live in the country. I went from 7.1 million population in Phoenix to a little over probably 6,000 in the little town that I live in now, and I like it. It's very refreshing. If you're able to get out of the cities, because they can, there's all kinds of stalkers in the city, and there's a lot of cell towers and stuff, and it's brutal, can be very brutal. So living here has been better for me. It took me a while to adjust because I had to move away from my family, and that was really hard on me. I have family here, but my children and my grandkids are in Arizona. So that part has been very hard, but we have to love our family enough that we have to make some decisions in order to protect them. And I think for me, that's one of the hardest things is that because some of my family members have been targeted, and I've tried to protect them. That's probably one of the hardest things. If you're a parent or a grandparent and you're targeted, that's a whole different ballgame. So sometimes I have to be careful what I say because I don't want anything to happen. But what I have chosen to do, and I know this isn't for everybody, but I had to move myself out of the community. I couldn't focus on it 24/7. There's a big world out there, you guys. I want you to get back to living it, and you can. What you focus on is what you become, and the best way to combat this is that don't focus on it 24/7. That is one of the most unhealthy things that you can do, and sometimes that takes a lot of strength. That takes a lot of perseverance. It takes planning, but get back to focusing on what you love. Get back to focusing on the person that you used to be. We're all beaten down so badly. And, in the beginning I thought, oh, my God, I'm such a bad person. Why is everybody following me? And I know you all have gone through that too. And, it's all a psyops. 80% of this is a psyops. And once you understand that, then it gets easier. This is a business for the deep state. They're making money. They're learning, what makes humans tick, how far they can push someone, how suggestible is a person, because that power of suggestion is really powerful in some people. So, sometimes they have people around kind of checking to see how well you're doing. And like I said, I know every day is not easy, and I still have bad days, but my bad days have gotten much less. My life has gotten better, and I know all of you can do the same. I think that it would be great if we could do it like a roundtable discussion sometime, and we could just talk about it, just have an intimate discussion about different ways that we can move forward in a positive way so that people aren't so focused on the targeting 24/7. They're not focused on the stalking 24/7. I made a decision years ago that I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care. I was at that point. I had moved 11 times. I, had 2 car accidents that were intentional. The first one almost broke my back. I was, I had a stalker in front of me. They slammed on their brakes. I slammed on my brakes. I came to a stop, but the guy behind me did not. And so he plowed into me going over 60 miles an hour. And at that momentum, that velocity, they hit you, bounce off, hit you, bounce off. They hit you 3 times, and every time he'd hit me, he shoved me into other cars. And that accident nearly broke my back and really has changed things for me. So I had to have 2 emergency spine surgeries. And then after 5 months of recovery, I was released by the doctors to travel, and I went to see Ella. And she and I were traveling on a road one day, and deer came on the road, and Ella stopped, but the guy behind us did not. And so we got hit again. So back in the hospital I went, and now I have a permanent head injury from hitting my head. So I see double, sometimes triple when I look to the right. But no matter what happens to you, you're stronger than, this program. You can overcome anything. And we overcome and move forward by helping each other in this community. It's healthier if you can try to look on the bright side. And I know this is easier said than done. But once you start doing that, count your blessings. In the morning when I wake up, and that's probably one of the hardest times for a lot of TIs, I truly, honestly, I've done this for years, is that before I even get out of bed, I say some prayers, but I also think about my brothers and sisters in the community. And, I've talked to people all over the world. I've probably met more TIs, at least years ago, I don't know anymore, but I met more TIs in person than anybody, I think. I've been all over this country. I did the first TI day in Chicago with Dr. Matthew, David Boyd, and other people, and that was really a success. We had a lot of folks show up. It was wonderful. I call myself a professional protester, and so I've protested at the CIA headquarters 6 times in Langley, Virginia, and they're the ones who run the torture program. I've protested at Raytheon, different corporations like that. I went to New Mexico, Albuquerque, where they make the weapons, protested there. And none of it's, a lot of it is not easy, and you do get retaliated against. But, we keep pushing forward because we can't just give up. So we lock arms and we move forward. But we also remember to be each other's best friends. And we must reach out to one another and help each other. When I was in Phoenix, I had a food pantry. And if somebody needed food, I just gave it to them. And then I had a clothing closet, and I had TIs in other countries. One was Ecuador, and I would send them clothing. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And if you're having a bad day, for heaven's sakes, don't suffer alone. Get on the phone and call a good friend in the community and, start talking about, good things and positive things. We could all kind of roll in the mud, and not mud, but in our misery, and talk about how bad our targeting is over and over and over again. That will get you nowhere. It's good to share, but mainly I'd like to see folks go forward in a positive way, because that's how you are going to heal yourself. So There's different things that you can do in order to do that. And there's different ways you can protect yourself. I think I've bought everything out there in order to try to protect myself. But I will say this. One of the best things that I have purchased is their water pillows that you can get online. It was Dr. Duncan years ago that taught me how to protect myself. And he said water absorbs the microwaves. So you can get these huge, water pillows. And when you get them, you fill them up with water and you put a little bleach in them. And there have been times, especially in Phoenix, where I could hear them, it was like getting shot with bullets. And I could hear them trying to get through the water to get to me. So the water pillows are amazing. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there. But probably that's been one of the best things. When you start protecting yourself and you're feeling better, don't forget to take your vitamins. All that stuff helps, okay? It helps to combat what's happening. Detox, because you want to undo what has been done to you. I just can't encourage you all enough to start a buddy system in the community and be kind to each other. So many times we judge one another. We don't know what that person has gone through. I've met so many folks from having a rally in D.C. And, on one of my trips to D.C., I got burned really badly. It was done by satellite. I know there's a lot of folks who don't understand, the system and how this all works. Well, the FBI, along with InfraGard and Citizen Corps, run the stalking program, and it's done out of the fusion centers. The fusion centers are funded federally and also by the Fortune 500 companies. So there is a huge lawsuit going on here in Oregon against Titan Fusion Center about stalking, and I think it's getting some traction. There are different states that are doing other things, so I want you all, try to stay positive and try to, understand that there are some great folks behind the scenes. We don't always hear about it, but there are a lot of folks who are working on this. I think there are amazing things that are being done, in D.C. I haven't always felt that way, but once I made the decision to move through this, I'm not going to let this program win. It's not going to destroy my life. I really had to dig deep. But I made that decision, and I thought, how am I going to do this? How am I possibly going to restore my life? So I just, one day thought, what is important to me? What direction do I want to go? Maybe come at it a different way. So I ran for office for the state of Oregon, and I won. Shock. So I'm an elected official for the state of Oregon. I'm also a delegate for the Republican Party. But trust me, I know it's on both sides of the fence. It's not one more than the other. So I always keep an open mind. But that has afforded me to rub elbows with some very important people who know what's going on. So I have I have this huge new perspective on a lot of this stuff. And I know there's times where we think that nobody cares or we're just struggling. Trust me, there are a lot of folks who do. There are some great men, strong men, who aren't sure what to do, that I know are forming these groups, and I know for a fact that that's happening here in Oregon, who are becoming protectors. People are aware of, I think more so now than ever because of everybody's efforts. that, this stuff has to stop. So there are a lot of folks behind the scenes that we are not aware of. There are so many, there are legislators that are targeted. I met someone really important who's in Trump's cabinet when I was there, who was targeted. And I promised him I would never say his name. Chris knows, but I always keep my promises. So there are, so many people who are trying to do the right thing. We are not alone by far. So on those days where it's just so bad, just remember that there are people who are trying to help, and we do not know their names. There's and all you have to do is, just start paying attention to some of these big names and pay attention to what they've gone through. And by golly, if they can get through it, and a lot of them are still targeted, you can do it too. TIs are strong folks. My gosh. And probably that's why some of you are targeted, because you are so strong. You guys need to feel good about yourselves. And one of these days, I would love to do a show, and I mentioned this to Chris the last time I was on, that I would just like us all just to talk. I want to hear what you did before. What did you do before in your life before you got targeted? What was your life like? What, did you go to school? What did you do? I want to hear, because that's who you are. Don't let this program define you. That's what they want you to think. That's how they want you to feel. You don't go down that road. Like I said, I thought there was a time I thought everybody hated me. I'll never forget. I was with my girlfriend. This is when I first got targeted. And I thought everybody on the freeway was following me, because it's psyops, you guys. It's brainwashing. It's all that. And they want you to think that. Oh, my gosh, I thought, I don't know what I did, but I must be a really bad person. Are you kidding me? That's how they set all this stuff up. So, don't think like that. You be proud of who you are. There are some European countries who revere TIs because they look at it like they've done something noble to be targeted.
Ma'am, I have a question. Hello?
Hello.
Hi. First of all, you're a wonderful motivational speaker. Thanks for all, your motivation and everything you've done for the community. But so I'm just curious. So you don't think that, all the perps surrounding my apartment and, both of my neighbors on both ends are banging the walls and stuff, and all the, potential gang members, you don't think any of them are paid? You're saying it's all mind control, or, you think it's, 50-50?
No, that's not what I said, but I'd like to finish talking if you don't mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just asking. Okay, and thank you. Mm-hmm.
No, there are neighbors, okay? Because this is what you need to do. If you live in an
I
apartment,
wasn't trying to be a smart ass at it. I was just asking genuinely what you think. Because it's possible, it's all mind control, but it was asking your
not all. Can I finish? So neighbors are involved. People are being set up and paid or threatened to do things to you. What I'd like to see people start doing is, if you live in an apartment complex and you think then there are a lot of stalkers and different people in that apartment complex, you need to go find out who owns it. And chances are they're owned by the deep state. The deep state owns a lot of apartment complexes. All right? They own HOAs. They're in every single group. This is what Laura Logan said the other night when I was talking to her. They have infiltrated practically everything. But you just need to be smarter about it. And I know it's, it gets difficult, but by golly, I'm not going to spend my time focusing on this 24/7. I'm going to go out there and live my life. And one of the best things you can do is to get out in nature. And I know that's not always easy for everyone, but if you can just get out, take your shoes off, put your feet attached to this earth. The earth is healing. Hug a tree. All those things work. Get out in nature. You know, when things were bad for me, that's the one thing that helped me. I would go out into the forest with family members, and all of a sudden one day it just all became very clear. And a lot of stuff disappeared from me that day. I realized that I wasn't the only person. I realized that not everybody was after me, that this was, you know, a program that had a lot of tentacles, a lot of money behind it. So what has come out recently, you guys, is that the same folks that were involved with Epstein and all that nonsense and everything that happened to those poor kids is this same program. They were doing transhumanism at his ranch in New Mexico. That has recently come out. I think it came out a couple of years ago, but they've talked about it more recently. Bill Gates, as we all know, was a part of all that. Bill Gates is such a psychopath. I can't stand the guy. His company, Ecolab, used to do surveillance on me in Phoenix. And it's only because of my ex being his business partner. So I understand a lot of you folks don't have any clue as to who put you in the program. And I feel so sorry for you. For me, I probably is a little bit easier because I do know and I have insight to this program. You know, I've been blessed in so many ways. When I went to the FBI and in Phoenix, and I wasn't sure what all was going on. And I know this hasn't always happened for everyone, but you have to be respectful. If you call the FBI, you try to make a report, they won't take it over the phone. You have to go in person. When you go in person, you have to be respectful. You have to look your best, you know, and they take you into a room that you fill out a little form, and you give it to them, and they check you out before they talk to you. And believe it or not, I became an accidental whistleblower of government corruption at one point. I didn't realize what I had, and it was mortgage fraud. And so they sent me to the Secret Service, who handles RICO. I have a gift for discovery, and I'm not sure why I have that gift, but I know a lot of you do too. And so they're tapping into, you know, how does your brain work? You know, how do you know these things? Women have great intuition. Rely on your intuition. I stress people, if you're in a paranoid state, try to get out of it. Do whatever it might take to get your mind off of the targeting. Do not think about this 24/7. It was Bill Binney who said, you know, you can turn this back on them. And I listen to people who know more than I do. And there's a whole bunch of people out there who know more than we do, like Kevin Shipp, like Bill Binney. Great people. So I just think there's just a lot we can do to help ourselves. And no, it's not going to stop your targeting 100%, but by golly, you'll be a happier person, guaranteed. And you cannot let this program take you down. So the other thing that I did, besides running for office, is I decided I wanted to see what it was like to help run a small community. So I ran for town council, and I won. So I'm on the town council. And that also affords me a whole different level of knowledge. You know, I don't go around talking about this 24/7 at all. Nobody knows. I mean, I have friends here who do know that I'm targeted. They've seen the pictures. But why on earth would I go around making this my life? I don't. And that was a decision that I set out to make years ago. And I decided, you know what, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I am going to do my best to be happy despite everything, because that's when you win. And so I fill my time, my day, with positive things. I interface with people all the time who are not targeted, who are wonderful. They know what's going on, a lot of them. But I think when you focus on this 24/7, you talk about it all the time, you talk about your misery, that will get you nowhere. We all need to talk about it, yes, but we don't need to go around accusing people that they're part of our targeting and causing a scene. That is not healthy, and that will get you nowhere. So,
very good. Did you want to ask questions or have questions from the audience now?
I want to hear how everybody's doing. I love people. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, let's see what people are up to. Come on in if you'd like to talk to Midge and tell us how you're doing.
Yeah. Did Helen get her question answered, the lady who, before you got finished? I want to be sure she got her question answered before I say something.
Well, I think she said something. If she's still on, why don't you come back in? But I think it was like she was asking whether it was mind control or if the neighbors really were involved. And they really are involved. I know
pretty
that.
much answered it.
Huh?
Okay.
You pretty much answered it.
Said you pretty much answered it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I just want to thank you, Midge, because I agree with almost everything you said. Some very important things. My bad days have gotten less and less, and one of the things that I enjoy doing, and I would recommend it to any TIs, is if I find something that I'm fascinated by, interested in, fascinated by, like certain videos on certain information, I have a very good day because it captures my attention and I'm enjoying myself. So thank you for mentioning that. But I also want to say, because your husband, your ex-husband mentioned about utilizing your trucks, I did notice occasionally, like if I'm parked on the street in the mornings, usually I am in a certain location, I did notice that the garbage trucks, now I noticed that the few and far between vehicles that have the equipment, they have to face me directly. So in other words, the trash truck will do a U-E and pull up and face me directly, and I know, but I shield myself very well, so he can't hit me very hard. But recently another, they used to call them six-pack trucks, but now they only seat 5. I noticed out in the middle of nowhere, he had to be, it's just so obvious after watching it for a while, because he had to face me. So in order to face me, he had to be parked, oddball way of parking as I'm coming towards him. But that doesn't bother me anymore, because if I'm well shielded, I'm well protected. But I just thank you for sharing everything.
Yeah, so I want you to understand, and I know this is hard. I don't know how long you've been targeted. I've been a TI for a long time. They are not hitting you with weapons, the garbage company. I used to own garbage companies, and I can guarantee you none of my drivers, none of my employees had these weapons. So what they're using, what they're using, they're doing a visual, okay? You're being hit by either a cell tower or a satellite. So the dues, the CIA has come out and they've talked about they owned up to having killer satellites. So I know that's really hard for some people to understand or comprehend or whatever that is possible, but as Jesse and others are proving, most TIs are implanted with RFID chips. Now these RFID, because I've been scanned years ago by the best person ever, And so you have a system in your body that is allowing for these weapons to hit you. And they all carry a frequency. Their frequencies go through the FCC. They are considered, and listen, I know this because I used to do research for some of the attorneys that won lawsuits back in the day. I also have worked for many doctors. I'm from the medical field. So I used to work for 2 different governors for the state of Arizona. And so, like I said, I kind of have some insightfulness in some of the stuff and how it's run. So a part of COVID was to establish these systems in your body with the vaccines. So I think, because, I'm friends with the person that scanned me, and all the years that she did scanning with people, only one person came up not implanted. So these implants are owned by the military-industrial complex or different corporations. They're all getting funding. They're all making money off of us. They have their own labs. They want to know how they're testing you in different ways for different things. They're also curious about human behavior. It is about transhumanism. I think that's kind of hard for some people, to think about. But the transhumanism movement is really big. There's a transhumanism political party. You can look it up. So there is a really good video out there called Inhuman, and it's by Reverend Horn. It's been out for a long time. It's on YouTube. And I would stress all of you, if you've not ever watched it, please do, and it will give you some insightfulness. I'm all about education. I'm not about going out on X or into the social medias and throwing out information that's not, factual. The way to get through this is that we must start putting facts out there, not something that we think, but facts. We must sound credible. And I know how this is because, like I said, guys, I've been there. But, none of us are scientists, or there might be some scientists in the community. Most of us are not doctors. And so we cannot really, truly speak on a scientific level about how all of this works unless you have some great education. I see people throwing up stuff on social media and kind of making up their own language. I remember one time, don't forget this, every single state has a radiation regulatory agency. It's true. So at one point, I had an investigation that was opened up by the Arizona Radiation Regulatory Agency, and I just thought I knew it all. And, I didn't know a thing. And I remember, everyone who works at these agencies, they're scientists, they're neuroscientists. They have degrees and PhDs in the field. But I just knew I knew what it was, and I remember arguing with one of the scientists, and they said to me, no, it's not that. And they were bound by their NDA, what they had signed in order to look at this agency. So they had to be careful what they said. But I would like to see more people lean on these agencies. And what they finally told me was that they couldn't touch it because it was military. Now, what Jesse has done is that he's done such great work, and he has been able to categorize. You can tell by the implants that you have who owns them. So every single RFID implant is marked because they're very proud of them, okay? Sometimes the CIA has a wolf stamp. They might have other ones, but, when I was scanned, it was a wolf stamp. they also have different numbers because they're so proud, so different entities own these implants. And they're considered medical devices. They all go through a program called medical radio. You please look it up. Do some research. Sometimes it's called med radio. So it all goes through the FCC. I had an investigation that was opened up with the FCC that got shut down because back in the day when I got scanned, it came up that 6 people of the doctor that was my doctor, my industrial toxicologist, came up with 6 patients of hers that had this same implant that was not registered, and they're all supposed to be registered. What the hard thing is that to realize that all this stuff is registered. If you have a contractor that's doing this and working in a state, he is registered with that state. And I used to teach a long time ago where to go find the information. There's like 4 or 5 places that are public, and you can go check it out. You want to go check out somebody with the DOD, you get on DOD.gov, put in their name, put in their business. I mean, come on, do some of your research. I've had women come to me who said, it's my ex-husband. Well, go find his name. Go find the company. And so, this is the stuff that I've done over the years. I have helped out with some of the lawsuits that have been won. There was one in Tennessee in particular that the attorneys asked me to help them. Because I've been doing this a long time and I know certain things, and because of my pictures. And the judge wanted a demonstration of the scanning. And so the person that scanned this TI, I always am careful about putting out names because it is my job, and we all need to feel this way, that we protect the professionals that are trying to help us. Because if you start throwing stuff out there, maybe they don't want their names out there, and we need to respect them enough that we don't do that. So I'm very careful that I respect everyone who's helping, us in the community. Because what are they going to do to them? They're going to go after them, right? And I know some of the doctors.
Great. More questions for Midge Mathis? Come on in and ask. Come on. It's top of the hour.
Sorry. Yes, DJ Chris. Oh, okay. Yes. I appreciated the motivational speak, but at the same time, I'm of the belief and persuasion that the neighbors are involved in this, and I have seen them up close and personal. I have seen the things. I have seen they have weaponized.
Yeah,
phones.
She didn't say that they're not.
Wait, let me finish. Listen. Let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
They have weaponized phones. They have weaponized other devices. And plus, I have very expensive device that I bought in a different country when I was investigating what was going on. And I have been able to walk up to people that are attacking me with those phones, weaponized phones, with my device. Mm-hmm. It goes directly to the folks. They put people in your community and surround you with these people that work for them. They do, and it common sense is very valuable as well as scientific information. And in this situation, we need common sense. And if you were to get about 100 targeted individuals, you might find one that says that it's the cell towers. I'm not going to say that it's not, but for the most part, if you live in a community or neighborhood, I witnessed this, and plus, I have a background as an investigator on the state and federal level, so I know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. They put people in because of the monies that they have. They're able to buy people out and move certain people into the neighborhood that work for them to assault you with these direct energy weapons on these weaponized phones and other devices. It's just not the phones. They have other devices. I've seen them. I know what they look like. Wait. I know what they look. I know what they look like. And so no one is going to convince me that these is not the Davis. No one is going to do that because I talk to targeted individuals as well, and they are saying the same thing. This is why a lot of people have dropped some of these folks, stop following some of the folks because they are of the same belief, because they're looking at things so high up. But at the same time, the devil works in various. Devil doesn't only work in one manner. The devil works in all way in various ways, and they are on the ground because.
Did you have a question for Midge Mathis?
Okay,
we need to move on, please.
I just want to verify the fact that these folks. It's a fact. It's a fact. And so that's.
Okay, very good. Let's go to the next question in line, please.
Buddy, I know what I know. So yes, they do move people into.
And I know what I know. You don't know what I know. I don't know.
Phones do not carry these weapons. They want you to think that phones do not carry enough energy for directed energy weapons.
They do. That's your thing. That's what you're saying. We know. We know. We know. So
I'm not going to argue with you. I'm here as a guest.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
I'm not going to argue with you. Chris, can we go on to
this isn't working out very well. Let's go ahead and we're done with the questions. Midge, do you have anything left you'd like to talk about before we end the call?
No, I'm just going to encourage everyone to do the buddy system and become each other's best friends. Educate yourself. You know, DJ Chris, you are excellent at that. You've got that book club going because, you know, how are we supposed to know about this stuff? I didn't go to school for, to learn about directed energy weapons, but I do know this. I had to go educate myself to facts. And I'm not about the little people. I'm not about the stalkers or anything like that. I could care less. I'm after the big guys. I want to expose the big ones that are behind this. Those are the ones who have the money. Those are the ones that want to create a prison planet. And if you all don't know what's coming down the pike, educate yourselves. And we have to make sure that I'm really big into communities and supporting each other in the community and making our community strong against all this stuff.
Right.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you, Midge, for your time tonight. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Any more questions for Midge before we go to open mic? Okay. Thank you, Midge.
Thank you, Chris, so much. You're such a good person.
Yeah, I try. I used to be a brat when I was a kid, but I grew up. Being in a targeting program like this makes you grow up real quick. Trust me.
Yeah.
You got that shit.
Let me go. Yeah, let me go and end the recording. Thank you for listening on your favorite platform.
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question.
Let's go ahead and end the recording. Okay, let's go ahead and end the recording, and you can keep asking questions.